Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Joinery Business Podcast. My name is Bruce Poling. I'm your host. If you run a business where you make kitchen cabinets or joinery or shop fitting or commercial joinery or millwork, anything like that, what we do on this podcast is we talk about all things related to your business and how to make your business just scale up to those next levels. Whether it's more profit you need to make, whether it's more sales, whether it's more anything really in business, this is what we're here to do. We're here to help you with all of that. I'm a cabinet maker by trade. I've run my own businesses and I've been coaching people in this industry for, let's say, the better part of 20 years. So what we do in this podcast is we talk about business related things that can help you scale your business. And today we're going to talk to Jonathan Blackburn, a really good friend of mine I met when I was working with Planet Canada back in the late 2000s. Jonathan and I got to know each other quite well, and he's gone on to some amazing things in his career. Right now, he's working for VORTEK Spaces. Now, VORTEK Spaces is an amazing bit of technology that takes your designs in a program, say in a cabinet vision design, and turns it into something that's lifelike. So you can have your customers actually walk through these designs in virtual reality goggles if you want to. I'm really excited about today's podcast. I think you're going to find it really interesting. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them below and jump into our group on Facebook called the Joinery Business Hub. Just ask to join, answer a few questions, we'll let you in, and we'll chat there. Love to see you there, and hopefully you enjoy this podcast. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. Jonathan from VORTEK Spaces, welcome to the Joinery Coach podcast.
Thank you, Bruce.
How are you today?
I'm great. It's a great day. Like I was telling you a little bit before, temperature's been rising, so
Yeah.
it's like summer for us here in Quebec.
Yep.
So we're quite happy that the winter is over. It seems that everything with COVID now seems to be going in the right direction. So I think everything looks positive right now. So
Yeah, we're on the right path, hey. I know Canada and Australia have kind of had a similar sort of path in the joinery industry, and they always have. Like, I get asked that all the time. What's the difference between Canada and Australia in the joinery industry? And there was really nothing apart from Canada is a lot more affected by the U.S. in imperial measurements, I think.
yeah,
You know, when I ran my joinery
that's the
business.
reason in Canada everything still works in inches,
Yeah.
but only in the joinery world and construction business. But everywhere else, like we learn the metric system in schools.
Yeah.
But when we get on the work floor, then we have to start learning all of the inches and the fractions.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? And you know, the cool thing here in Australia is that everything is metric. And so everything is, you know, we don't even, and I think the other thing in Canada is we don't make face frame cabinets. That's sort of a US thing, but that's the big comparison. But the industry here is very much the same.
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, I'm just so excited about this chat because you and I haven't seen each other for a few years, but we used to work together back in, well, I don't know, close to, what was it, maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Planet Canada was where we first met.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were working there. I was working. I've been working with Planet Canada for about like 10 years before I switched to VORTEK Spaces. Over there, I was selling cabinet vision. You know, I got to travel all over the country, meet so many people, so many factories, visit shops. I've integrated machines back then. I did trainings, and then I did sales for the software as well. And that's when I met you, when you were like a technical consultant there, you know, training as well with the customers. And we always had a good time. You know, it was always nice chatting with you.
Just me too. Like my memories of that period of time, we decided to move to Australia in 2008, but one of the hard things in making that decision was, I was in a place where I was working with such great people like you. That was why it was so hard to make that decision, quite frankly. So really, really excited to catch up with you again. We caught up again, I think it was a couple of years ago at the OESA show in Sydney.
Yeah, and the last one, so it was like 2018.
Yeah.
When I was there, actually with our partners at Planet Cutting Edge Solution, they had a great booth there. We had actually such a great attendance. So I was very, very sad. Like everything was planned for me to go again this year and spend some time. I was even hoping to spend a little bit more time, maybe some vacation and get to travel a little bit, because last time I just saw the convention center and the airport. That's pretty
Yeah.
much it. Although like we had some like great hosts and great parties and dinners and everything, but I didn't get to see any kangaroos or koalas
Well, look,
when I was there.
yeah, Australia is a big place, obviously, but the best thing about, any of the major cities, like the best thing about being in Sydney or Melbourne or any of those sorts of places, the best thing about that is to get out of them and to see anything outside of the major cities. Because I think
Yeah.
that the truth is you can kind of land in any major city in the world and look around and go, well, it's a major city. I don't really know where I am. Oh, there's the Opera House. Okay, I've seen it. I can go now. But once you get into this, once you get out into the sort of outskirts in the country, that's where you really get to know the people in the country, right?
And also, I didn't get to visit any shops. When you're talking about differences, that's one thing I would have loved to be able to see. Different shops and how the manufacture and they fabricate. Last winter I was in France and I got a chance to visit a couple of companies when I was over there. It's always nice to see exactly the type of things that those guys are doing.
Well, let's make a point of this. Next time you're here, make sure you hook up with me, because if nothing else, we can go out, whether it's Sydney or Melbourne, doesn't matter where it is, and I can take you around to all the shops that we work with, and you can get your, right into the trenches with them and see what's happening there. I think you'd be really impressed.
That's kind of the weird thing about me. Like for me, it's pretty more fun to visit a bunch of shops than going to the zoo.
Yes, so, so true. You can only see kangaroos so many times, and then they're just animals, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So really, really excited to have you on the podcast here today. We've got a few people on the line, Margaret, Matt, and Michael. Guys, if you have any questions, just feel free to chuck them in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that. So Jonathan, tell us a little bit about your journey through where you're at right now. We've talked a little bit about Planet and where we came from there, but tell me just a little bit about that journey into VORTEK Spaces and what that journey's like for you.
Yeah. So, it like my first encounters with the VORTEK product was when I was still selling Cabinet Vision in Quebec. And, back then, one of my customer, he had a custom setup with TV, 3D TVs and sensors on them and everything that he acquired from that small development company in Quebec. And, he called me, he said, like, this is like the future, Jonathan. Like, you got to come here. You have to see that. So, I just took the car. I went to see that. I was, I was amazed. Like, it was 3 big TVs. You would put 3D glasses on and just move stuff around with your hands, change the colors. The quality was incredible. So I was, I need to meet those guys because, with the softwares I was selling at that point, like we were doing renderings, but that was just nowhere near like having something 3D with sensors and everything.
Yeah.
So, that's basically when I got to meet with those guys. Then after that, made the presentations through Planet Canada. We became resellers for those guys. And then like maybe like 2-3 years after, through a small transition, I went to a different company that approached me. I ended up not liking it as much as I was expecting maybe. And then when VORTEK approached me, I was just like, oh, like this is kind of my dream job. I was back working with the same type of people, designers. With VORTEK, we do renderings, we do colors, we do beautiful, we do lights and excitement, we do VR, all those different types of technology. I love technologies as well. I will always have to have the latest gadgets and make sure that I know how to get them to work together and connect with each other. So, and it's a smaller company where I do have some control. I don't have all the controls. Like we're a team of people, but you
probably don't want all the control, do you?
No, exactly.
Then you take all the responsibility.
Yeah, like a lot of times people are just wondering, oh, should we do this or this? And sometimes you don't want to be the one that makes that choice. But I'm the one that is connecting the most, I guess, with our customers. So I hear what they want to hear, what they want to see in the development of the application, what kind of feature they would like to see, and all of those types of things. So I'm also the one that gets to relay that message to our developers, which like most of our developers now, they kind of know like cabinet terms. They know about hinges and doors and stuff that, but they don't know much about the design itself or how it's being used. Even Like I think it's maybe like 2 years ago, we took all of the developers and we drove them with us to visit one of our customers, so they could go and see the factory, they could see the CNC machines and all of that.
Makes
Like those
all
guys
the
that can
difference,
just
doesn't it?
work behind a computer. So for them just to see real wood, like, and actually just touch real melamine and touch real wood and see the
Yeah.
difference between those different things was really nice for them.
So what year was it that you started with VORTEK?
It's been 5 years, so 2015 now.
2015. Cool. All right. So from 2015 to now, what's the sort of major changes you've seen in that period of time? You know, because the one thing I have to say, the one thing that leading up until to this podcast, I was looking for some photographs when we were at Planet together, and you know what? I couldn't find one.
Already?
I'm sure there's one or two somewhere on a hard drive somewhere, but the thing that occurred to me was that was back in 2006, 2007, 8, you know, in that era. And it's only 2020 right now. That's not a great period of time, but it just highlighted for me the speed at which technology is changing, right?
Yeah.
Now, like if we were to go like 12 years ahead in time from now and look at the photographs of you and me working together now, there would be like hundreds, maybe thousands of pictures every single day, you know, of what we're doing. But back then, there was no technology to take photographs quick and easy on your phone and put them on Facebook.
And our phones had just such bad qualities that most of the pictures that we have from back then like are really bad quality. So even if we worked together on that picture, we probably wouldn't know.
You didn't want to see it, right? And it really highlighted me the speed at which
any bald guy would just do like
just put him in there. Yeah, and it's so the technology for me, it just kind of hit me in the face. Holy crap! That technology is going at the speed of light. So, you know, from 2015 to 2020, what's the big difference in, you know, in that period of time?
I would say that, you know, and that's something that's really nice, especially working for a company like ours, is that we tend to evolve a lot with the technology. So, you know, like with a software like VORTEK Spaces, there are some parts and bits and parts that are getting as packages as, you know, we have a rendering engine, and like Microsoft does stuff as well on his side. And it's a Microsoft platform where we develop. So whenever all of those guys are adding more features in the stuff that we put together to create spaces, you know, it's allowing us to always do like better quality with pretty much like the same performances or even like the same computer. At the same time, we also have like way better computers now. You know, like the computer that I'm connected to right now, it's a laptop, and the graphic card, you know, like 2 years ago, graphic card like that would have needed water cooling. And now I have it in a laptop form. You know, with my laptop, I can connect a VR headset as well. And, you know, that's another thing as well, that, you know, like the VR technology is something else that is coming. I guess maybe with COVID right now, it kind of slowed down, but it will get back eventually when we can start touching each other and meeting in person for real. But you know, like VR a couple of years ago, the performances of VR were just too bad that we would not even present it to our customers, even if it was possible back then. But you know, we kind of know what our customers are expecting. So if they want to show something that we'll sell, like they need to have like good quality enough to be able to impress a customer. If the customer puts that on and it's all laggy and stuff, they will not buy it. So
okay, so let's talk a little bit about, let's just jump right into this, because I'm sure that anybody watching this now or watching the recording of it is going to say, if I run a joinery business, kitchen cabinets, any sort of design business that's making built-in furniture or joinery of some kind, what's the advantage of having something like VORTEK Spaces on board? Can you talk a little bit about how that would give them an advantage out in the marketplace?
Yeah, like basically, and the whole minding behind our software is really help the designers and non-rendering professionals. You know, we don't want to train people with you know, extensive training and stuff like that. It needs to be very, very easy. Like a designer needs to be able to do it in just like 15 minutes. So like the goal is always like the time it takes to create a beautiful and a beautiful presentation. So like we really focus on the time it will take. So, you know, with our application, for example, we use video game technology behind it.
Oh,
So
wow.
if we were to compare with most of the rendering software, that will focus really on the final quality and the fine details on the pictures.
Yep.
You know, some rendering software will take up to 24 hours just to render one single picture.
Yep.
With Spaces, we're talking about more like half a second for a picture. So, you know, if you compare, for example, the two pictures, the one that took 24 hours will be more realistic than the one that took half a second. But how much more realistic, and how much more realistic do you need to be able to sell the project? And this is something that people really forget a lot of times when they look at rendering software. You know, like, why do you even do a rendering? What's the reason behind that? Is it just because that it's expected by the customer, or like there's a need for that rendering? And what is that need? Is that people need to understand what the space will look like. They need to see themselves. They need to project themselves inside that room.
Yeah.
So
Look, I think that, you know, it's such an interesting space to be working in because personally, you know, I've been in this industry for over 20 years, actually pushing 30 years now, just quietly. And when sort of the computer designs hit where we could actually do a 3D image, you know, the stick frame images that cabinetware and all those sorts of places, it kind of went, everybody went, wow, that's amazing. Then there was this big push to having these 3D images and having people look at the 3D image and see their pictures of the kitchens. And then we got sort of into, you know, creating layers and making it look realistic. But then what happened was everybody kind of went away from that because it didn't actually, in those cases, it didn't actually improve the conversion rate or the selling, because it kind of took the focus away from the relationship that we're building, right? And sort of people kind of walked away from those and going, well, that was a nice picture, but I'm still going to go and shop it around to the other 4 joinery businesses.
Exactly.
So
Also, you know, that's something that I was seeing a lot with the people that were using traditional rendering software before. Like, most of the pains and the reason why people would not do renderings back then is that even if they had the software to do it, they would not have all of the proper textures, all of the proper colors, the scales, and all of that. So even if they wanted to do a good job, like, the colors would be wrong, and then people will go shopping with the pictures with the wrong colors on them.
Right.
And it would take them forever to render pictures. So if they have like any changes to do after that, you know, they don't even want to present the first picture in, you know, just in case that someone will ask to see any changes or modifications.
What does it look like with different doors on it? Oh, okay, come back tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's the interesting thing I'm seeing is that we went towards this sort of computer thing, which took the sale away, and then we went back to the relationship. So there's a lot of people now that don't even use 3D anything, not even wireframe drawings. But I think that VR is going to change the game. That's what I love about this so much, is that VR gives you the ability to take what you've drawn anyway in cabinet vision, let's say, and chuck the goggles on, and then the customer can virtually be standing in the kitchen that you're going to build for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like with the VR these days, you know, what's really nice is, you know, I happen to have one right here. You know, that's my home office. I don't just play guitar here. I work all day. So that's a VR headset. That's one I use for demonstration purposes. But you see, like, in front of the VR headset, you've got like 2 cameras there. So those 2 cameras are actually like tracking sensors.
Yep.
So and this one works. It needs to be connected to my computer. So like because right now the type of images that we're showing inside those screens are just like really high quality, and they require a lot of processing power. So right now, like, none of the wireless headset will give you that level of experience.
Right.
With something like that, since you have trackers, that means you know, you can walk around your room, you can get down, you can walk around an island. You know, if you've got long enough cable, you know, we like to hang it, for example, from the ceiling. So now you can start and walk probably like around a good 10, like 3 meters by 3 meters, maybe around a room. But just being able to see and be inside that room, now you just understand all of those spaces and exactly if the countertop is big enough or small enough, how is it going to look with that table? Like, am I going to fit between the two? Is it great or not? And you know, when we first were testing the VR, we asked one of our customers that is really close to us, you know, to test it with him, but with one of his customers. So he booked a couple of appointments with his first customers just to go and try it on. So we got the opportunity to see those guys. And, you know, like the first thing that people would say when they would put the headset, it was, oh, that's my house.
Yeah.
It's my staircase. It's my patio door. It's my window. It's my, so like they would recognize like those like small items. So like now they could suddenly just see that kitchen inside their own house. And especially when you do VR, you know, sometimes it's a good idea to go just one step above in the rendering and, you know, finish the walls around and give more of a room feeling.
Put a couple of books on the shelf and some fruit in a bowl and that sort of thing. But just, I would imagine that would create some sense of scale and purpose when you're in the room too, right? So
yeah,
like if you got someone that's like 6'8" and you're designing the kitchen to suit them, they're gonna, if you can see them actually in that space, their feeling of their proportion in the room is going to feel right.
Yeah, you know, at this point, it's still it feels a little bit weird because you don't see your body. So,
right.
You know, when it's just like having a camera, but, you know, more and more, what will happen, and that's something that we already see now. It's only that it's like you need add-ons at this moment, but really soon with the cameras in front of the headset, basically what will happen is that like it will see your hand and then present some fake hands inside your eyes. So you basically see like a digital version of your own hands.
Wow.
And be able to touch the countertop. So that's actually one thing that we're really excited about. Like it will just make a whole difference. You know, at this moment, like people will use, for example, like remotes like that.
Yep.
And with a remote like that, you see it inside the headset. So when you wear the headset, you just see like floating remotes, so you know where your hands are.
Yeah.
You know, when you touch a countertop, when you touch doors, so you can feel like all of the different heights. But it will just feel more natural when we can use the hands.
Yeah. So next step is being able to actually see your appendages.
Yeah.
And you'll probably do a VR of that person's hands. No, maybe not. Okay. So really cool stuff. I love it. So do you have some demos for us? You can kind of show us. I invite you to share your screen and let's see some real stuff.
Share my screen. So share screen 2. So like that's basically that's our demo project for VORTEK Spaces. So I've been showing it for a little while now.
Yep.
We just released a brand new trailer. Also, if you guys go on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page, you can see that the new trailer of VORTEK Spaces, which is quite incredible. But yeah, so this is VORTEK Spaces, and you know when I was saying that with our app, basically what we do is that we try to focus as much as possible on the pains and the reason why people were not doing renderings before. And like I said, like one of the things would be like materials, having access to really high quality materials that would be seamless, that would be scaled.
Yeah.
So with Spaces, that's pretty much what we do. So you see right when I click on those cabinets, now I have access to like thousands of different textures. And we work also with the local suppliers as much as possible. So, you know, we've got companies like Laminex and I don't have on my system all of the ones that are supplied in Australia, but basically where you're located in the world will dictate which types of laminates you will see in your application.
That's really nice.
And when we go in there, you see I've got all the colors. I can just go and change them. So again, you know, I don't need to go online, find the picture, download it, make sure it's seamless, try to put it there. And then especially if it's a wood grain or stuff like that, you know, like it would be scaled to the right dimension. You can take it easily, just change the wood grain around. So again, you know, like with Spaces, what happens is that people are not afraid to show a picture, because if the customer asks for a change, they can just go and change it right there on the fly.
Let me make sure I've got this right. If you have a customer come into your showroom, so you're a joinery shop and you've designed a kitchen, you probably had a couple of meetings, you call them back in, you've got the design, you've got the VR goggles, and in today's world, there's going to have to be some safety and some distancing around that. You make sure that they're clean. Maybe you rip a plastic covering off of it to make sure they're comfortable, you know, just to make sure that they're trusting all of this. But are you actually suggesting that when the customer looks at the design in the goggles, they can actually change the materials themselves?
No, actually, pardon me. It's they could. I mean, we have decided not to add it to our app, and the main reason is because, like again, when you just say VR, like VR is cool, VR is trendy, it's marketing and everything, but when we look at it as a sales tool. So as a sales tool, what are we trying to do for our customers with the
Yeah.
VR? Because it would be just very nice to go and put, for example, stuff on the countertop. You can cook, meatballs or drop stuff and break glasses and break stuff like that. But we don't want it to be a game. Our customers, when they have a customer in with the VR goggle, what they want to do is sell a kitchen. That's
Yeah.
really what they want to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to spend an hour looking at somebody changing the colors. So that's really the reason we did not do it. It would have been possible, but again, that's as a service for our customer that we block
Makes
some of
perfect
those
sense. Yep.
features. And even with the VR, what happens is that while the customer is wearing the VR, the designer can still see on the screen what the VR is looking at.
On their computer
so they know
screen,
where
right?
the customer is looking at,
Yeah.
and the designer at that point can be changing the colors and everything live inside the VR headset.
Okay, so it is possible for the designer, if the customer says, what would it look like in white? The designer can go, well, there's white. What do you think? Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's really cool. And I completely agree. What you're actually trying to do is just to get the customer to trust that you're going to be able to do what they want, so that they will sign up and give you a deposit and take the next step, right?
Exactly. Like when you talk to your customer, maybe you want to tell them you want to make an experience and all of that, but between you and I, you want to sell that kitchen. So that's really the goal of what we're doing today. We're trying to create stunning images, and the time it takes to create those images is very important, because especially with the kitchen cabinet makers, in most cases, when they do that drawing, when they do that presentation, the rendering, they don't have the check, they don't have the project yet. That's what they use to sell it. So they need to spend as little time as possible working on it, and to have like the biggest impact on the other side.
That's a really good point. A lot of people try to get to the final, and then find that the customer is choosing someone else. And really, we don't want to get to that point. We want to get the thing sold, so that the customer trusts you're going to be able to do the final that they want, but not have to do all of that work before they make their decision, give you the deposit, and sign the contract. That's a big part about what we push in our programs. And a lot of our clients have had some wild success shifting away from selling anything. We try and get everybody to say, you're not actually selling anything. What you're trying to do is raise your trust in the customer's feelings and in their eyes. And once you get to a certain trust point, there's like a tipping point where when they trust you enough, when people have money, you've got to get to a certain trust point where they're prepared to give you their money. And really, so all of this is not designed to sell anything. It's designed to raise trust.
Exactly. And with Spaces, I always like to say that we try to raise the emotion level. You've got trust on one side and you've got the emotion on the other side, and both of them will trigger the sale, and both of them combined together are great tools for selling. But with Spaces, having great images, great pictures that look very realistic, you bring the emotion level up to one point. Then when you start showing the videos where everything is moving, and we even started recently adding animated stuff inside the software. So
that's
people
really cool.
Moving fire, moving TVs. We've got trees with leaves that are moving as well. So when you start having animated stuff inside the room, then you bring the emotion level up like one more step. Then when you add the soundtrack with really really nice music that will put the customer in the mood, you just at the first second when the music's starting, you set a different mood. So it's like the total of all of those different things that will make your customer buy at the end.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's one of those things, we call it a trust nugget. So the more trust nuggets you can add along the way, the more they're going to get up that pathway to going with you. So just as a general, I know this is a really broad question, but as a general statement, how much longer would it take when you do a design? I know cabinet vision quite well. You can chuck a windows, walls, windows, doors, chuck some cabinets in place, push a button, you set your parameters, and you've got a kitchen, right? How much longer would it take to get it ready to this level? Maybe you wouldn't do the whole room necessarily, but you might do the kitchen so that you could present it.
Like the room dimension doesn't make much difference. In most projects that we do for kitchens, for example, you've got about 10 different materials to select. So like maybe one or two laminates, one or two countertops, backsplash, paint for the walls, paint for the doors, and that's pretty much it. And the software will basically group all of the elements together. So, when I click on, for example, on this wall, it will go and select everything. Oh, actually, like only this wall has that. So let me click that. But if I click on the ceiling, you see it will select everything that is using that same color. So when I go and change it, I don't need to change everything, one by one.
Yeah.
So it goes really quick. And then, with Spaces, actually, let me just mention one thing before I go to the lighting. But, with the textures, like something else that is quite crazy and that will add a lot of life to the project is that you see, like on that floor, when I move my mouse, like very slowly, when you see the reflection, you can actually see the wood grain on the floor. So most of the texture that we have, like they're not just a flat mirror. You'll be able to see the wood grain. You can see the cracks in the ceramic, and even like some of those textures, for example, like those ones are ceramic. So I can even change like the grout width. I can change the grout color, for example, like that.
So for those sorts of jobs that are really high end, highly detailed, you want to get the customer to trust that you're going to nail it, and it's like a $5 million house. These little details are really important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, when we go to the lighting, basically, again, with Spaces, since like it's like a video game, everything that you do with the lights is live. So when I go and click my lights, you see like that, I can basically just go and change the intensity right there on my screen. And you see the difference right there. So again, it's a matter of just spending a couple of minutes. I always like to say that I do it in 15 minutes. But most of the designers will probably spend a little bit more time than that, probably a good half an hour working on the project. And then but after that, once you spend that 15 minutes, there's no more waiting for pictures and stuff, because when you save the project, all of the pictures are getting saved at the same time. So we basically use a principle of viewpoints. So like viewpoints are just different locations inside that room that I like. And then when I set up those viewpoints, any changes that I do now, if I go and save this project, for example, I'll just save a copy of it. Oh, actually, put it in your name. Like that. So now when I save the project, all of my viewpoints are getting updated with the new colors and choices that I've done right now inside my room.
Okay.
And
so each one of those images now has a new, what is it, a JPEG or?
Yeah, a JPEG image.
Nice.
And also, when I'm saying that, we focus on like very little details, with Spaces, since we do live renderings, there are some places where we'll try to focus a little bit more to create more emotion. So again, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but right now here, where it's very bright, there's like it's called a bloom effect. So it's just meant to mimic some type of camera effect. And again, if I move around like that, maybe you can see like the sunbeams coming inside that room.
Yes.
So all those little details. After that, when we go and record the walkthrough video, when the camera moves around, you have the sunlight coming in and all those little sparks going on all over the place. That also helps selling the project.
I think it's amazing. What I'd like to do, Jonathan, if you don't mind, is I'd like to just take a little pause here. Lee, Margaret, Michael, I'd just like to ask all of you, what is it about that you've seen so far that stands out to you the most? Like, just give us one little tidbit that's really standing out to you that you've seen. For me, it's the speed at which everything renders. Yeah, Margaret says she loves the detail. I love the speed because I know that, before when we were doing textures on surfaces, as soon as you move the camera, it went back to wireframe.
Yeah.
And now that doesn't happen, right? It's all like you're actually standing in the room. It's amazing.
Exactly.
The speed and sense of space, says Michael. Yeah, it literally is like you're just standing in the room.
Yeah. And then, like some other things, like we were mentioning before, like adding some decorations. If I take that same room and remove all of my decoration, you probably think that it doesn't look as good suddenly. And that's something that we realize. And when asking our customer, why don't you put decorations on there? They were saying, oh, it's too hard. I have to go and find it, download it, put it in my software and everything to go and put it there. So what we've decided to do is to kind of help our customers. So now they can import their own 3D models. They can just go and quickly add decoration right there inside the room and place it.
Wow, that's easy
like that.
Yep.
And we even have access to like libraries of like I was saying before, like trees, and those trees will have like the leaves moving when I go and place them outside. So when you have the sunlight going through them, you can see
Man, you could
that.
spend hours and hours and hours of this, couldn't you?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But again, like some other things is that when we go in most of the settings of the application, you see like we kind of hide them, and the reason why we hide them is because like with most of those settings, like like the bloom, like I was talking just a little bit earlier, like those settings, when I go and click on it, there's a default value there. So like the setting is already on, so you already have the blooming effect. It's already have it has a default value that will work in most cases. So when we set up those values, we test them with like a bunch of different projects, making sure that it will fit. So basically, like people don't need to go and play with those settings. So that's mainly the reason why we almost hide them there. We don't want people to spend too much time. We don't want to go and tweak the exposure, because the exposure that we put there normally should work.
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of different features that will readjust the lighting as you go. So if you have one corner that is brighter and one that is darker, when you move around with the camera, like the room will just readjust as you go.
That's the thing that's kind of jumping out at me here, Jonathan, is that it seems to me this would be really easy to use. No matter how technical or capable you are in technology, do you really want to spend time on 5 million settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that what you've done is a great job here in making it, the user interface, really, really simple to use.
Yeah. It's always something that I like to joke around with the guys that, like sometimes our developers are just like, oh yeah, like people are paying to do that, when, I could do this when just taking this part of this software and exporting there, then do that in this one and then bring it. And then, they could achieve the same thing with 5 different software and probably 5 days of work. And then, the difference is because like they don't charge for their time. So yeah, like that, like the speed, and again, our customers are not people that have been to university on rendering, so like they don't know all those like small details. So it's really our job to know what those buttons are doing and trying to set them up for them.
Yeah.
Even like there's a bunch of different like screen effects and reflections that you don't even see those options, because we don't feel it's important for our customers to have access to those ones.
Right.
Again, with most of our customers, sometimes you've got like multiple designers. If all of the designers suddenly spend 5 or 10 more minutes per project, maybe at the end of the week you've lost one project. So we're really conscious that every time we add something more, we have to make sure that we're not adding more time it takes to process and to finish the project.
Well, I think this is the point that I'm really focused on right now, is that things are changing, right? And particularly with this crisis that's happened, hopefully it's got everybody really focused on change and what you're going to do when things change. And I think that we need to talk about how we're going to get our businesses up to the next level. The joinery industry around the world, but particularly here in Australia, is a little bit behind the times, let's say, if I wanted to put it nicely. We've got some catching up to do. And, it's not good enough now to draw on a sheet of paper and show your customer. We've got to try and get things up to the next level. And if anybody that runs a joinery business actually wants to stand out from the crowd and get out of that sea of gray, I suspect this is probably one of the easiest ways to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, like it will save picture, but also from the same viewpoint, basically, we can record a video walkthrough. So now, when you're competing against your competitors, instead of selling just with pictures, now you show them a video walkthrough with a camera that is moving inside their future home. So, your chances of closing just went through the roof at that point. Like you're just way ahead of the competition when you do that. Like I said also before, with the videos, when you put the soundtracks in, that's something that will just bring the emotion level up. The app can also record a 360 video. So, with 360 video, that means instead of having one camera that goes inside the room, it's like having 6 cameras that will record all the way across you. So when you watch a 360 degree video with your iPad, that means you can just turn around, you can look up, you can look down. And so for your customer, it's kind of a remote VR experience, or like a less intrusive VR experience than having the headset on. But, with the iPad, it's something that is quite interesting as well.
Well, the cool thing about what you've just said here now in today's world, like today in reality, is that you might have a husband and wife or two partners that are, one's at work or one's at home, one's coming in to have a look. You could probably connect them up. Like we're doing this right now. You're looking at, I'm looking, we're here in Australia, you're there in Canada, we're looking at your screen. So this could be done. Anybody in the world could be connected watching this, and so it could be, hey, we're looking at the new kitchen that we're going to build. What do you think of it? And you could be streaming this through an application like Zoom or anything else, really, couldn't you? It's just
exactly.
It's next level for sure.
Like every week, I have people asking me the same questions, basically about the security when you share the videos on YouTube. Because with Spaces, when you share the videos, like you can share them any way you want, but there's a built-in link to YouTube. And sometimes people are scared about security, that people will just see the video and steal it or go somewhere else. And the answer is always like, you shouldn't send a video without presenting the project first. So you don't want just to send a video and you don't know when your customer is going to watch it. Maybe he's going to watch it on his phone, maybe on a train back to work, or and things like that. So you want to make sure that they set up a time ahead to watch the project, that they'll be expecting to see it. So like the best way to present it is really to do like an online presentation. So for designers, they should always have a camera ready and stuff, because seeing the face of the person that you're dealing with makes a big difference. But now with something like that, you can talk with your customer. You can say, all right, let's go and see in this corner. Do you like that? You can interact. You can ask questions like, is this good? Yes. Is this good? Yes. So you basically remove all of the objections one by one when going around the project with your customer. Basically the same way that people would be doing in the same room in the showroom.
Yeah.
Now you just have a way better tool to be explaining your ideas.
Yeah, look, it's so good. I have to admit, I'm embarrassed to say this, but this is actually the first time I've had a really close look at VORTEK Spaces. I've seen you at shows, and I've seen the crowd that you gather at shows.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of crowds, but this is amazing. You've kind of blown me away a little bit here, and hopefully anybody that sees this is going to go, wow, how do I get this? Like, what do I do? What do I have to do to make this part of my business? And that's what I really hope happens from this, because we're all about helping joinery businesses improve their conversion rate. A lot of people say, well, I've got these stack of quotes, or I've got these follow-ups to do. And one of our trainings is to completely eliminate follow-ups. Like when you get a point where you're going to deal with someone and say, look, maybe this isn't the final design, but we'd like you to make a decision. Do you want to work with us? Yes or no? Either one's fine, but do you want to work with us? If yes, okay, we'll sign a contract, get a deposit, and move on. And then we'll start doing the rest of the design to get the last one. And this would probably be a great way to do that, to get that point earlier in the process where they're going to go, yep, you're the guys that are going to build my kitchen. Where do I sign? Let's just make it happen.
Exactly. Like you really want to be able to build that trust instantly, and being able to show it like that really helps that. And like regarding the VR, basically what the other thing that is really nice about the VR is that I don't need to do anything else. Like that's a 3D room. That's like a video game 3D room. So when I click on my VR button, I just click on one button and then put the VR headset on, and then now I'm inside that room just the same way as it is now. So I don't have to go and tweak the lights and all of that. And that part again was important, because we know that some customers, they don't want to wear that headset. Some people are scared. Some people are they're how do you say when they're afraid of small spaces, or
claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic. So like some people.
How do you say that in French?
The same way, pretty much. Yeah.
I was trying to think of
no, I was trying, I don't know where, but so sometimes like we don't want to, like the designers, to waste any time preparing the VR scene before the customer gets there. But if they want to do that and they try it on, and like everybody just get blown away when they put the headset on. So
what do you find, Jonathan? I mean, you've been doing this for quite a while, and you've been working with a lot of cabinet shops, and some of them are kind of tough nuggets to get through to sometimes, because they're very set in their ways. In many cases, I can speak for myself. I was one of those tough nuggets. What do you find the biggest hurdle in getting them, to sort of look at this seriously is? What's the biggest objection?
And you'll see, like after I say that, you'll say, "Oh yeah, you're a sales guy," but like most people, they just don't believe it's that easy.
Right.
And you know, that's probably like the worst best comment that I've got, because like people are just saying, "Oh yeah, like you make it look so easy," but it is, you know, it's really hard to make it look harder than it is. Like I was always joking before that we had 12 buttons. Now we probably have like 20. So you know, and most of those things, like it's like record, that's a red button, like viewpoint, that's an I. You know, even people that don't read or just read a little bit, could be
Yeah.
able to use that. And that's very important. You know, every time we add a new button, we don't want to have to explain it much. We do have tutorials, we do have webinars and trainings, we have one-on-one demonstrations and all of that, but overall, like, it needs to be simple enough. And even like up to this point, we don't even have like a proper training for the app. Like there's no like official 1 hour training or 5 hours or 3 days. It's basically we do like a 45-minute session online with a customer, or they watch a pre-recorded webinar that is about like 45 minutes as well, and they learn pretty much just the basic. And the idea is that they just need to be able to apply materials, like to do all of the basic stuff, the lighting, applying of the materials and everything. That's very, very easy. Like everybody will get that in one day. That's very simple. And then after that, like what will take maybe a couple more days of practice will be being sure that everything fits together. And you know, like, and when I'm saying fits together, it's very important when people are doing renderings like that. They have to set the mood. You know, they have to make sure that they think, if is it a bright daylight scene, or
Yeah.
is it dusk, is it winter, is it summer, and all of those factors will make a difference. Because you know, if you make it like very bright daylight outside, and then inside it's dark and it's shadowy and all of that, it doesn't fit together. And that's really what what I see really often. People will show me scenes and they're just like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't look very good." And that's in most cases just because like it doesn't fit. Like the inside with the outside doesn't fit much, and some areas are really bright and some other areas are like more darker. So
Yeah. That's a good. I suppose if you have that objection, it looks too easy. You can say, "Well, if I make it look hard, will you buy it?"
yeah.
Interesting. I love it. Okay, so everybody that's on the line right now, Lee, Margaret, Matt, Michael, I'm interested. What question would you have for Jonathan right now that you've seen this cool application? Let's hear some questions from anyone on the line. And I've got a question. Hopefully, I'm not throwing you under the bus here. In this sort of view application, are you able to open and close doors and see in the cabinets?
It's actually something that we have in a beta version, but for the VR. So you know, with the VR right now, it kind of a half work, like, so it's not released officially, but yeah. So, but the plan would be to be able to do that in Spaces as well. It's basically the same. It's the same code that we have for the VR that will be brought back inside the Spaces, but yeah, like eventually that will happen. That's for sure.
Okay. Question for Margaret: how quick is support if you need to get technical support or help?
I would say it really depends on the time of the day. You know, like with my customers in Australia, I guess we at one point we get to an understanding, but like there are some parts of the day where you know, for example, like right now, you know, once in a while, like maybe not every day of the week, but normally I can put everybody pretty much like on the same day for like if I need to do remote connections. But in other cases, we have like a chat online where people can come and ask questions. If you send me emails, you know, we'll reply pretty much like while you're sleeping. So like in worst case scenario, we lose about 12 hours with support. But I also know, you know, and we have a lot of customers in Australia and New Zealand. You know, it's not two customers. It's I don't know the number exactly, but it's pretty close to 100 customers in Australia and New Zealand,
Right.
or even more than that. So I pretty much know the time zones by heart now. I used to mess up with my time zones in my meetings before, but now I learned from my lessons. But yeah, so in most cases, my late afternoon is your early morning.
Yep.
the next day. So like there's sometimes, and there's even 6 months out of the year where it's very easy, where like when it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me, then it's your morning, so that makes it easier.
Yeah.
In my summer or your winter, like the time zone switches in like opposite directions, so it makes it a little bit harder. But again, like we do our best. We want to make sure that our customers are not left out. But we also work with planning cutting edge solutions. So like they have technical teams, they have tech support over there. They can relay, they can help as well with our customers while we're sleeping.
Okay, great answer.
And I sleep pretty well, so they probably do a very good job.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome. I'm quite impressed. So if someone wanted to, well, let me just ask this: is there anything else that you've kind of not shown us yet or talked to us about yet you think would be important for anybody to sort of see or know?
Like just actually, I mentioned it, but like recording the video, that's something that takes maybe like 4 or 5 minutes, like depending on the graphic card and the computer.
Yeah.
So again, like sometimes I have customers that say, oh, I don't record videos, it takes too much time, but that's because they never even tried it. Because once you took the viewpoints for the pictures, you just click on record. 5 minutes after I've got my video, if I use my really bad small laptop, which is like a Surface that doesn't have a graphic card,
Yeah.
Maybe it will take me 10 minutes. But it's not 1 hour, it's not 4 hours, it's just like 10 minutes instead of 4 with the other computer. So like recording the video doesn't take much time, and it will just increase like the sales, the closing ratio. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's really what we're after, right? We're not after more customers necessarily. Maybe we are, but if we get more customers and decrease our closing rate, then we're just doing more work with no result.
Yeah. Or less customers with more money.
Yeah, more of the, yeah. It's a bit of a balancing act. I know that some people go after the high end of town, but there's something to be said for going after whatever market you feel you do best in.
Yeah.
If you don't do best in the high end market, don't go after it.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that you're showing just a simple white melamine kitchen here, and this would have the same effect on someone that's going to spend $8,000 or $10,000 compared to $50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. So I would imagine that with technology and the way everything works these days, this isn't really an expensive thing to get into, is it?
No, and we work with. I just stopped sharing my screen. Like,
that's good. Yep.
Don't worry, it's at a yeah. So yeah, it's a subscription based. So it's and we use US dollars. I'm sorry, like I because conversions for me
that's
that's
killing us.
Step. Now, yeah, and actually, we did added the Australian dollars back in March with our app, and we were all happy to let our customers buy with Australian dollars. But like the next week, the exchange just went down like crazy.
Yeah.
So we reverted. So everything is back to US dollars right now. So it's either 1 year or 3 months, and then 3 months is $387.50 for 3 months. And
sorry, say that again. $387
for 3 months.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And then 1 year is $1,350 US.
And just roughly, what do you get for that? You're talking an amount which equals what?
Which equals basically one license, and it's basically you can install the app on more than one computer, but just use it at one place at a time. You just use like it's an internet login, and so you get one license, and then you get all of the updates for new materials, new features. Like the 3D models, for example, that was not there 3 weeks ago, and that was just added now. So you get new features, all of that. You get access to like support, and all of that is included as well. With your subscription. Also, we do like webinars, trainings, tutorials, and all of those really nice things. And mainly we listen to our customers. So when most of the buttons that are in the app, like I can relate them to one email that I got, or one discussion at a trade show with a customer that said, oh, why don't you do that? And so yeah, like this application was probably going in a way different direction before we started listening way more to our customers.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty clear, because your user interface is really easy, and you only get that if you listen to your customers.
Yeah.
Cool. So
we also offer free training, like free trials. So if anybody goes on our website, vortekspaces.com, they click on free trial. So you can basically, it doesn't even require a credit card. So you just go and start a free trial for 15 days. At the end of 15 days, you can go back on the website, put a credit card there, and you'll make me happy. And and otherwise, it just stops right there, and it's not too bad. Yeah, so like we try to make it very, very easy.
And you don't need the goggles, right? You can show it on your laptop, but the goggles would be something you'd purchase here.
Yeah, like the VR headset, that's a different price. This one is it's $1,500 US a year for the license for the VR headset, but that one needs a little bit more of a commitment than just a license, because in most or pretty much all of the cases you'll need to buy a new computer. The chances that you have a computer right now that can run those kinds of VR headsets are very, very slim, unless you're already inside the VR headsets. So you need to buy like a pretty good computer. You need to buy the headset. You need to have it set up in your showroom in a nice way. You don't want to just have like a couple of cables running around of a dusty laptop. So like it needs to be more of a marketing statement.
Yeah. So first step, really quite an expensive buy-in that you would show on your laptop or your PC. Maybe you've got a big screen in your showroom, that sort of thing. That would be very effective, I would imagine.
Yeah.
The next step from there would be to go up to, the full experience, right? The full VR experience where you've got the goggles and all that sort of thing. A few $1,000s at least to invest there.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, you win one job, that investment's now.
Yeah, and same thing for the license. When people are saying, oh, it's expensive. I was like, yeah, if you just sell one more kitchen in a whole year, you've paid for that license.
Just one.
Unless you don't have your price set up right, but you should make enough profit to pay for your license. Just one more project, and no one will tell me that with using Spaces they will not sell at least one more kitchen in a full year. That should make the difference for at least one customer.
One of the things I'll just talk about this a little bit. I was on a workshop yesterday with a client, a one-on-one workshop, and we always talk about how do we make your hero product? What is it that you do that we can put out in marketing that is going to be the thing that you do better than anyone else? And it can't be, well, we do great designs, we use the best hardware, we make the best cabinets, like everybody's saying that,
Yeah.
And so that can't be a hero product. It's got to be something. It's got to be the design plus 101. It's got to be the closet organizer 6.0. It's got to be something that you can own. Yeah. And it might be something everybody else is doing, but it's something that we need to be able to talk about in marketing that makes you cut through the gray, and stand out. And what occurred to us yesterday was this particular client their designer is actually using VORTEK Spaces. And I went, you idiot, that is actually the hero product. Like if you're using this in your marketing, from a marketing perspective, this is gold. Like to be able to talk about this and show one or two reactions from your customers while they're doing it. If
you want to have one trick, one of the things that I've seen my customer do that works every time on Facebook is that they'll take the same kitchen and put two different colors on the countertop and put them side by side and ask people to vote. I don't know why, but people are just like, they have to vote whenever they see that button. They're just like, oh yeah, I like the black one.
Yeah.
And they click on it. And every time people do that, they have like thousands of clicks when normally they have just maybe 100. So that it's very competing for people to participate whenever they have like black or white and just pick something like that.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, this is kind of blown me away here a little bit, and I'm just more than anything, I'm just glad that we could catch up. And the next time we catch up, I'm going to insist that we hear a song.
Yeah, I'll do that next time.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions before we wrap it up? Again, Jonathan, I really appreciate your time. I know it's late there in Quebec, and you've probably got kids.
No problem.
Kids to they're probably in bed by now, right?
They're just in bed. So I just kept all through that, so I'm good.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm a little bit disappointed about here in Australia, we've got a term called we're in isolation. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you use this term in Canada, but it's called in ISO here in Australia.
No.
And so, there's this thing about our ISO beards. And everybody seems to be growing a beard right now because we're in isolation. And you have just put my beard to shame.
Yeah. I like last time I cut it was, I actually had a podcast interview, end of March. So that's last time I took care of it, and then now it's been growing since then.
Yeah,
I don't know when it's gonna stop now though. Like
yeah, I'd like to say I trim mine regularly, but I don't. And so yeah, you've put me to shame here with the ISO beard. You can go back to your team and say I have an ISO beard now. That's a
an ISO beard.
Typical Australian term. Cool. All right. So Michael's yeah, great meeting, guys. Excellent. Margaret, thanks for attending. Lee, hopefully that was of value to you. So again, Jonathan, thanks for jumping into this podcast, this video with us. I'm sure that when this gets out on video, some people are going to get a ton of value from this. How can people get a hold of you, Jonathan? What's the easiest way for someone that looks at this and says, I'm in, how do I contact Jonathan?
I would say vortekspaces.com. They just go on our website. There's a live chat on there. When they go and speak with, that's most likely me that will answer. And if it's not me, I'll most likely see it or oversee the message at one point. So right there. Otherwise, you've got my email, jblackburn@vortek.io.
Okay. I'll put that up in the comments when I do the video. So Jay Blackburn, just say it again.
Jay Blackburn, BLACKBURN at VORTEK, VORTEK.io, like Perfect. In and out.
Perfect. Okay. Jonathan, always a pleasure to see you, and hopefully we can catch up soon at the next show.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.